Nessun dorma, nessun dorma. Tu pure, o principessa, nella tua fredda stanza, guardi le stelle che tremano d'amore e di speranza. Ma il mio mistero chiuso in me, il nome mio nessun saprà. No, no, tu lanciai poca lo dirò quando la luce splenderà ed il mio bacio schiorierà il silenzio che ti far mia. No, 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 ro, 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 ro. Dille guanote tramonto di stelle, tramonto di stelle, all'alba vincerò, vincerò, vincerò. Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is a special video that I'm doing today, and I'm so moved, and I wanted to dedicate, that song Nessun Dorma to the Queen of Soul herself, Aretha Franklin. I have this, one of the best fond memories of seeing her perform that, to replace Luciano Pavarotti when he wasn't able to make it to the Grammys, and how within like a short amount of time she learned that song and she did it to perfection. And it's a song that I've learned years ago, and I'm really honored that I was able to share this with you guys. But let me say, this was a royal celebration of life, a royal celebration of a great pioneer and figure within music, but also within the black community as well. And let me just say, it was a star-studded turnout. For example, the cast of the Haves and the Have-Nots showed up, and that was her favorite show. In the last episode, A Father's Regret, they dedicated in her honor, and it was great to see them. John Snyder, Renee Lawless, Angela Robinson, Peter Peros, Aaron O'Connell, and Crystal Fox. It was great to see them, and also Tyler Perry was there with Gladys Knight, and it was a really star-studded event. You had the likes of the Reverend Jesse Jackson, Pastor Shirley Caesar, Dr. Louis Farrakhan, the Reverend Al Sharpton, Smokey Robinson, just to name a few, and it was just beautiful. Whoopi Goldberg was there. So many, great, powerful individuals, within entertainment and politics, and as well as her beautiful family. They even had a part of the service where her grandchildren, paid homage to her. her son Eddie, who's a great singer, by the way. He actually sung "Mercy, Mercy Me" by Marvin Gaye, and some of them were definitely shaky, and that's normal, for a funeral. Some of the performances that I wanted to highlight, for one, I truly enjoyed the Clark sisters. They did "My Song Is My Living in Vain," and they sung the house down. Fantasia Barrino Taylor, it's my girl. Love me some Fantasia. She sung "Precious Lord, Take My Hand," the very same song that Aretha Franklin sung at the funeral of Dr. Martin Luther King, who was her close friend, and she was also very active in the civil rights movement. And it was a beautiful, it was a great way to pay homage to such a great, powerful woman as Aretha Franklin. Shaka Khan did a phenomenal performance. She did "Going Up the Yonder," and she nailed it. And it was awesome because they both were in the Blues Brothers movie. Shaka Khan was in the choir, and the Reverend James was James Brown, and Aretha Franklin did the song "Think," and she played a waitress. So it was great to see Shaka Khan come out and do what Shaka does, which is sing the roof off of the place, and she didn't disappoint, and it was great. I also enjoyed Shirley Caesar and Tasha Cobbs, where they did the song "How I Got Over," which was from her Amazing Grace album. I actually just listened to that album I think about a few weeks ago. I was actually on my way to an event on Sunday, and literally Aretha Franklin, I listened to her from all the way there, and I think I had to travel all the way to Rockville, Maryland, and I live in DC, and I was literally listening to Amazing Grace the entire way there, and listening to her father, Reverend C.O. Franklin. The Reverend James Cleveland was the one that was playing piano, as well as conducting the choir. So it was just amazing. And Ron Isley gave a very moving performance of "His Eyes on the Sparrow." He was getting very emotional during his performance, and was definitely very touching. Smokey Robinson did a little piece of the song "I Miss You, My Buddy," the same song he did in the movie The Temptations. And definitely, her and Smokey go way back. Even before Motown, her and Smokey knew each other. And it was great to see Smokey pay homage to the Queen. And let's see. So I didn't get a chance to see some other performances. I didn't get a chance to see Stevie Wonder or Jennifer Hudson. But if you guys saw that, please leave it in the comments. Let me know how those performances turned out. But for me, those are the highlights I wanted to highlight in this video. Oh yes, the Williams brothers and Vanessa Bell Armstrong. I actually met Vanessa Bell Armstrong when I was a little boy. So it was great to see her, and the Winans brothers do what they do, and that is sing the roof off the church. And they didn't disappoint at all. And it was also great that, they definitely acknowledged that the cast of the Have and the Have-Nots, because that was Aretha Franklin's favorite show. And it's even one of my favorite shows to review among many others. So it was great that they paid homage to the Haves and Have-Nots, because she was a big fan, and she even spent time with the cast, and they, bonded with her as well. And, so that was really good. And, one thing that they were really stressing about Aretha Franklin throughout this funeral, that she was more than just this great vocal talent. She was a humanitarian. She was, very active in the civil rights movement. And one of the highlights was when Reverend Al Sharpton went up there and really not only showed how much of an active woman she was, but then he checked Donald Trump. And I was so here for it, because Donald Trump needs to be checked and needs to literally be, knocked off the pedestal, because it's crazy. And I'm not gonna make that a video of. I'm not gonna dive into Donald Trump, because it ain't about him. It's about the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, and that's exactly what the Reverend Al Sharpton did where he talked about where, you know, things were getting so tight in the civil rights movement that, you know, Martin Luther King wasn't able to make payroll. So Aretha Franklin, along with Harry Belafonte, went on a 11 town. They went on a tour where they hit, I think, 11 cities or 11 states. But all the money that they got from that tour, they donated to the civil rights movement and for the cause. Now that is somebody that is a true patriot and a pioneer for the black community, and I think she should get the utmost respect and the utmost, gratitude of the fact that she helped, she actually helped her people, and she never forgot where she came from. She always gave back to her community, gave back to her state. And even during the program, let me finish what Al Sharpton said. But what Al Sharpton was talking about, how much of a great, patron she is, and that God is welcoming her with a crown because she is the queen. But then he went on Donald Trump when he said that, when Donald Trump was talking about Aretha Franklin used to work for him, and he was saying, correction, she performed for you. She worked for us. That moved me so much because at the end of the day, Eureka belonged to us. She knew where she came from. She never forgot her roots. She never forgot the church. She never forgot her community. And she never forgot that she was a black woman. And she wore it well, and she wore it proudly. And I will always respect, the greatness of what Aretha Franklin represented, because as I said in many other videos I've done about Aretha Franklin, she was definitely one of my inspirations as a singer myself. And I loved how powerful her voice was, and I loved the confidence she showed. And even amidst some of her trials and tribulations that she faced in her life, she has left an impeccable legacy that will live even beyond my lifetime. There are going to be children within the next 50 years who are going to know who Aretha Franklin is. And that is something, all the money in the world can't buy that. And it was just a very moving, service. And it wasn't so much like a funeral. It was more of a homegoing celebration. And then you had some people who were shaky in their performances, like Faith Hill. I love Faith Hill. And I'm not going to roast her, because definitely performing at a funeral can be very difficult. I myself knows what that is, because my grandmother just passed away in April, and I actually sung at her service, and it was probably one of the most hardest performances I had to do, because the emotions were so high that your voice gets shaky, and sometimes those nerves can really get to you. And I think that's what happened with Faith Hill. But she pulled through, and I think she got through the song, and she looked great, and definitely more power to Faith Hill. But Ariana Grande, her performance was good. She did Natural Woman, but honey, you in a black church, that that dress was pretty much saying that you were the benediction. And it should never be that, honey. Not at all. That dress was too short. You were not performing at the Grammys or the VMAs. This is a funeral, and when a funeral, oh no, you cannot reveal too much. And her dress was really too short. But she looked great, though, and I think she did a good job singing Natural Woman. But, honey, somebody should have tapped you on your shoulder and said that dress was too short. You need to wear something else. Because Fantasia, when Fantasia came out, Fantasia showed what it was about. Not only was she dressed properly, but she had those shoes off because she sang the house down. And it just goes to show you that's where Eureka got that power from, was singing in the church. The church is really the actual blueprint, or more like the first grounds to perform in front of an audience. And I, for one, grew up singing in church as well, so I know that all to be true. And when you always come back home to the church, Lord, there is nothing, nothing that can that there's no words that I can say that shows how powerful and moving that is. When you come back home to the Lord and you sing some of those hymns and spirituals and gospel songs that we know so well, and you always keep that connection to the Lord and you keep that connection to your community. And Aretha Franklin always went back to the church. She wasn't an artist that just did secular music and never went back. She was like, no, these people made me. These people invested in me. These people buy my albums. These people celebrate me. And I, for one, will always celebrate them. And I thought it was very moving. I also loved it when her grandchildren came up to speak. I thought that was very beautiful and, very touching. But throughout all that I've seen, I didn't see the last hour because I actually went to the gym. But anything that I missed, put it down in those comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this because I, for one, thought it was beautiful and it was a royal celebration of life, and it was a celebration of a legacy that even, as I said, 50 years down the line, people are still going to be talking about Aretha Franklin because there was only one Queen of Soul and there will never be another one like her. So I thank the Lord that we actually got to experience this great monumental talent, but also a great monumental human being. So that's what I have, everybody. If there were certain things that stood out to you in this memorial service, feel free to share it in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I, for one, I'm very honored to do this video because I'm truly, for one, I'm going to miss her. There were moments throughout the service that I got emotional, especially with the grandchildren, because definitely I can definitely feel that sadness because I still fight with it daily, since losing my grandmother, because my grandmother was not only like my grandmother, but she was also a parent because her and my mother raised both me and my brother. So I definitely can relate to her grandkids, and it was just a very moving homegoing service. Her family looked great, and also her niece, two of her nieces came up. One of them was the daughter of her brother Cecil, and then her other niece was the daughter of Carolyn. But Aretha came from a very big musical family. I mean, her father, the Reverend C.L. Franklin, was known as the Golden Voice, not only because he was such a great preacher, but he was also a good singer as well. And also his children were gifted as well. Irma, Cecil, and I think Vaughn was also in the music too, and also Carolyn. So it was a very moving service, and I, for one, I for one want to give my condolences to her family and friends, and as well as to everybody that was touched by her music and touched by her legacy. So now I'm done. That's what I have. If the things I missed or things that stuck out for you, put it down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them all listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And this was, a great homegoing service, a great celebration of life, and I'm very honored to do this video, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you. So until next time, everybody, take care.